Persuasion is among the most valuable arts a man may acquire, for it allows him to accomplish with words and character what armies cannot secure with weapons. I learned long ago that to win allies, to inspire cooperation, to bend circumstances in one's favor, force is unnecessary and arrogance destructive. True persuasion is gentle, rooted in respect, guided by patience, and executed with sincerity. It is not domination, but influence. It is not coercion, but invitation. It is the key by which a man may unlock the will of others, not by breaking it, but by harmonizing it with his own. When I was young, I observed many who mistook command for leadership. They believed that by raising their voices or brandishing authority, they could compel obedience. And in truth, they could. Men may be forced for a season to obey orders, but forced obedience is brittle. It cracks at the first strain. Persuasion, on the other hand, wins loyalty. It secures not only the hand, but the heart. When a man is persuaded, he acts not because he must, but because he desires to. Such action endures. I have often been credited with building an empire of steel, but I tell you plainly, I built an empire of men. Steel was merely the product. The foundation was human cooperation, effort, and ingenuity. Had I attempted to rule by force or arrogance, my empire would have crumbled as quickly as it rose. Instead, I sought to persuade my partners, my workers, my investors, my community. Persuasion turned opponents into allies, competitors into collaborators, and workers into men who shared my vision. Consider the nature of men. Each has his own hopes, fears, and ambitions. To persuade, one must first understand these. A man who does not listen cannot persuade. For how can you influence another if you do not know what moves him? I made it my habit to listen carefully, to learn what my associates truly wanted. Some sought financial gain, others recognition, others simply respect. Once I knew their desires, I could align my proposal with their interests. Thus, they felt not commanded, but understood. A great mistake is to believe persuasion is clever argument alone. Argument often provokes resistance. The more one insists, the more the other clings to his own view. Gentle persuasion, however, seeks common ground. It begins with agreement, however small, and builds upon it. If you wish to move a man, do not confront him head-on. Walk beside him until he is ready to follow the path you point out. I recall a negotiation in my early career when a supplier refused to adjust his prices, though I knew the market made such a demand reasonable. Another might have threatened to take his business elsewhere. Instead, I asked him to explain his position, and I listened without interruption. I acknowledged the fairness of his concerns, then calmly showed how a reduction, though seemingly against his interest in the short term, would secure a larger volume of business in the long run. I spoke not of what I desired, but of what he stood to gain. By the end, he not only agreed, but thanked me for helping him see the broader picture. That is persuasion, leaving the other man feeling as though the decision was his own, not forced upon him. Force breeds resentment, persuasion breeds goodwill, arrogance breeds resistance, persuasion breeds cooperation. I learned to remove pride from my dealings. To win allies, one must let others preserve their dignity. Do not humiliate a man, even when you prove him wrong. Offer him an honorable retreat, and he will follow you without bitterness. Many a conflict has been avoided simply by allowing the other to save face. Another secret of persuasion is sincerity. Men can detect flattery when it is false. They know when they are being manipulated. Persuasion without sincerity is manipulation, and it cannot last. When I praised a man, it was because I found something genuine to admire. When I sought his support, it was because I truly believed the course was for his benefit as well as mine. This honesty gave weight to my words. Without sincerity, persuasion is but empty rhetoric. In business, in politics, in every endeavor of human cooperation, persuasion is the invisible currency. The man who masters it spends less of his wealth, less of his energy, less of his time in conflict. He accomplishes more, for he harnesses not only his own strength, but the strength of others who gladly join him. Many imagine persuasion as weakness, but I tell you it is the greatest strength. The conqueror who wins with force leaves behind enemies. The leader who persuades leaves behind friends. Reflect on the great movements of history. The prophets, the reformers, the pioneers of thought. They did not conquer by arms, but by persuasion. They changed the world with ideas, conveyed with passion and gentleness. So it must be with you. Do not think that to lead you must command. To lead is to persuade, to influence, to inspire. In my life, I found that persuasion worked not only in grand negotiations, but in the smallest interactions. A kind word could soften an adversary. A willingness to admit my own faults could disarm a critic. A sincere compliment could open doors that wealth alone could not. I trained myself to see every interaction as an opportunity to persuade, not by pressing my will, but by aligning it with the will of others. I encourage you to practice this art daily. Listen more than you speak. Seek to understand before you demand to be understood. Speak not to show your intelligence, but to kindle the intelligence of others. Give credit generously, and you will find men eager to work with you again. In all things, be sincere, and your words will carry the weight of truth. Gentle persuasion is the leader's most enduring tool. It has won me friends where money could not, secured opportunities where force would have failed, and built bonds that endured long after the contracts were signed. Remember, arrogance closes doors, but humility opens them. Force may gain you a servant, but persuasion gains you an ally. And in this world, allies are the true wealth of the wise.